Okay, welcome to our first somatic and support call. This is a free call. It's just a chance to connect with folks and get some questions answered and also do a little guided somatic practice together. I think most of you know who I am at this point. I'm Cedar. My business is called Cedar Sacred Well. I do recovery coaching, primarily focused around nervous system work and somatic healing. I'm a certified somatic practitioner. Happy to share more about that if you have questions, but for now, I would love to jump in with a nice somatic practice together, which will be about 10 minutes or so, and then I'll open it up to questions. So just finding yourself a comfortable seat, or you may be laying down, that's totally fine as well. And we'll take just a minute here to look around your space. And we're just checking the space to make sure there's no threats that I need to address right now. Checking if the space is safe enough for the moment. Normally I like to spend a little more time orienting, but we're just gonna at least take that breath to check the space, to notice, is my space safe enough that I can drop in and do a practice right now? So hopefully that's the case for you, and you can close your eyes, or if you feel more comfortable, you can just soften your gaze and kind of let your gaze drop down. So with your eyes closed or a soft gaze, we're going to begin by noticing the breath. And just see, where can you most easily find your breath in this moment? Maybe it's the movement of your belly or your chest, rising and falling. Or maybe it's the sensation of air moving through your nostrils. And we're just noticing the breath. We don't need to change it yet. We're just bringing our awareness to the sensation of breath. Noticing that this breath moves through your body, in and out, all on its own. And tracking, how do I know that I'm breathing in? What sensations tell me that this is an inhale? What sensations tell me that this is an exhale? Where and how do I feel each half of the breath? Is it a change in temperature, change in position, something else? Just noticing the sensations of the breath. And then I invite you to notice, what are you sitting on? What are you laying on? What is holding your body up? Where are you in contact with this surface? Starting with the feet. Maybe the feet are resting on the floor. Maybe they're on a bed or cushion. What part of the foot is in contact? And how does that feel? Is it soft or hard? Warm or cool? And then following the legs up, noticing what parts of the legs are in contact with this surface. Maybe it's just the tops of the thighs and the butt. Maybe it's your whole leg. Notice the texture. Are you sinking in, or is it hard? Where does that contact point start? Where does it stop? Maybe shifting your weight a little bit to feel into the edges of that connection. And then if you're in contact further up your body, on your back, perhaps if you're laying down or if your chair has a back, just noticing how that feels. Can you sink in a little more? Can you lean back a little more? Or maybe lean forward? And even the back of your head might be supported. So just feeling into that connection if it's there. And then noticing all the places of support at once. Maybe it's just a few points. Maybe it's the whole back of your body or the side of your body. Just feeling this connection, connecting to the surface beneath you, which is connected to the earth. Underneath it all, the earth holding you up. And just see if you can relax into that a little more. Maybe feeling the sensation of gravity, allowing it to pull you down a little bit, allowing the tension to melt out of your shoulders, out of your face, out of your belly, your hands, legs. Just letting them rest, resting into this support. It's always here, it's going to stay here. You don't have to hold yourself up away from it or tense against it. Just let yourself be in this support. One more time, noticing the breath. Is it the same? Has it changed? Both are completely okay. Feeling the breath and feeling the support at the same time, perhaps. Allowing the exhale to soften. And perhaps on the inhale, even bringing in a little bit of that strength from the support beneath you into your body. Let's take one nice deep inhale together, breathing in maybe the deepest breath you've taken today. And then a slow, soft exhale, just letting the breath gently release all the way out till you're ready to breathe in again. Then with this next breath, gently fluttering open the eyes, taking in the space once more with a soft gaze. And then letting your focus come back into the screen in front of you, fully awake and fully present. All right, that was a little guided practice that I really like to do. A breath sensing and gravity sensing, grounding. So next up, I am here to just serve you and answer whatever questions that you have that are coming up around your recovery, your nervous system work, all of the above. So I would love for you to pop a question in the chat. Again, if you want to remain anonymous, just write anonymous at the top. That's totally fine. If it feels like a big, long question and there's a lot to explain, just bring it down to, kind of the main point or the main topic, and just let me know that you want to share more about that potentially. Yeah, so I'll just give a moment here for folks to type in whatever questions are coming up for you. Okay, got a couple good questions here. So the first question is, can a closed eyes meditation take you deeper into a dorsal shutdown? So could it be harmful for CFS? Rob is saying that in a program that he took, the coach said that a closed eyes meditation will take you deeper into a dorsal shutdown state. So could that be a bad thing? This is something that might be very personal to each person. Some people find that closing their eyes is actually activating. So kind of the opposite of what you just said with the dorsal shutdown, because it doesn't feel safe. They're used to having a certain level of hypervigilance, so it feels better to have the eyes open. So that's why I invited, maybe you want to soften your gaze instead. But as far as closing the eyes, taking you deeper into a dorsal or shutdown state, that's not something that I've run into as an issue. I think if you can close your eyes and soften your awareness into that kind of internal awareness, it might make you sleepy. It could definitely do that. It may even make you fall asleep. But if you're getting into that sleepy state through a somatic awareness practice that feels safe and relaxing, then you're actually getting rest in that case, right? Because a lot of times we sleep, but we've got so much activation running in the background that you're not really resting, and you never feel rested when you wake up. So what happens a lot of times is that people will start a meditation practice and they're like, this is making me worse. I have to sleep all the time. As soon as I do this meditation, I'm just like knocked out for an hour or for the day. That happened to me when I started a meditation practice. And well, at first it was very activating and I couldn't focus on my breath because it was too stimulating and activating, and I would get really anxious. So I had to work through that. And then once I got to where the meditation was relaxing, I would just conk out for like a good hour after the meditation. And that lasted for, I want to say like a month or two. And I, asked the coaches, like, is this something that's normal? And they're like, oh yeah, that's normal. So I just trusted the process and planned that, okay, I'm gonna meditate and then I'm gonna nap. Like I just planned that into my day, that's just part of my rest practice. And after a couple months of regular daily meditation, I found that started to shift, and that after the meditation, I actually felt more awake and more centered. So these are phases that it can go through. I also want to say that if meditation is not your thing, that doesn't have to be the thing. Like it's not required for recovery. But I wonder if that deeper into dorsal or shutdown is actually a deeper into a parasympathetic relaxation that's finally letting you actually rest, and your body is like, oh, thank God, let's sleep. That would be my interpretation of that, but I don't know the exact context in which the coach was sharing that. So hopefully that helps. I don't think it's harmful, but you're welcome to meditate with your eyes open if you prefer. Okay, next question. Would love to hear about your professional somatic training. Yeah, so I did a lot of somatic work as part of my recovery. I was introduced to somatics through the Edison Effect program with Andrew Gennari, which is a really lovely program. Has a lot of stuff in it. There's not a ton on somatics, but it was enough for me to be like, oh, this is the thing that really, really works for me. Andrew's program is more focused on meditation, actually, which was great, and I saw benefits from it, but it wasn't the thing that like my body was like, oh yes, please, more of this. Let's now I'm getting it. So once I realized that somatics worked really well for me, I wanted more. I wanted to learn all of the somatics. So I did a lot of, just diving down YouTube rabbit holes on somatics and my own research. I did a program with Dr. Amy Apkian, who I think her business is Trauma Healing Accelerated, and it was a foundational program, so it was somatics and parts work. Also did quite a bit of parts work, that's a different topic. So that was kind of an intensive 3-week somatic program that leads into a practitioner training, but I ended up not doing my practitioner training with her. I did it with a yoga therapy practice, yoga therapy studio. And that was about really noticing what's showing up in the body and then working with the sensations in the body in various ways to either address like long held physical patterns, so patterns of pain or patterns of tension or dysfunctional movement, and also long held emotional patterns, which of course could be trauma or just reactivity, activation, stuff like that. So that was the training I did with that, that gave me the practitioner certificate. And since then I've kind of just like woven and blended it all together along with my Reiki practice, which I'm also a Reiki master. So there's kind of the energy work side of things comes into it a little bit as well. So yeah, I guess I would lump all of that together into, what has become my professional somatic training, and I'm still doing more training. I actually have one coming up on somatic parts work that I'm excited to be able to offer in the future. Yeah, thanks for that question. Okay, do you think it's possible to recover without co-regulation, as in nearly always alone? Yes, definitely. That's a great question, because I know a lot of people are in that situation where you're living alone. Maybe you can't tolerate other people being around you. For some people, that's too much stimulation. Or maybe there's just not a lot of people who live nearby that you feel comfortable and close with. So yes, I also just want to say, like, you can co-regulate without other humans. Like, you can co-regulate with an animal or with a pet. The pet is an animal, sorry. You can co-regulate with a pet, an animal. You can co-regulate with plants. I love to co-regulate with trees. I will, like, if I'm activated and I'm outside, I'll just go find a tree and like lean on it or hug it. I don't care if I look weird. That can be a really helpful method of co-regulation. Of course, if you have a plant in your home, like a potted plant, that's great too. And also just co-regulating with nature more generally. If you're able to be outside or access a window that has, you've got the airflow, maybe there's sounds, maybe there's plants or trees that you can see outside. And just getting into a sensory experience of that and just noticing, what do I hear? What do I feel? What do I smell? All of those things, as you slow down and begin to notice that, it can create a co-regulation effect with the natural environment that you're in, or with the plant, or so on and so forth. Of course, it's great to co-regulate with other people, but also people can be activating, right? Sometimes you co-regulate to an activated state when someone shows up, it can go either way. So I've also talked to folks who are like, can I recover if this person in my home is constantly activating me? That's the flip side of that challenge is, okay, maybe I have the support and the connection, but it's super triggering. So yeah, the practices are gonna be, even if you have access to co-regulation, you're still gonna need to be doing your own practices, right? You can't just rely on someone with a strong regulated nervous system being in my space constantly is gonna fix me. Like, that's not gonna work either. So finding some practices that really work for your nervous system, that you get a sense of grounding or a sense of lightness, that you get some yawns or deep sighs, any of those physical cues that your body is releasing some stress, getting into more of a state of safety and relaxation. Any practices that help you with that, and maybe the one we did earlier could be one, you could always come back to this. Doing those on a regular basis to create a sense of safety is probably the strongest practice for regulation, because you're creating an experience of safety for yourself. You're not relying on anybody else to do that for you. You're finding safety in your own sphere, in your own experience. Another thing I would add is experiences of care. So creating an experience of care for yourself. This is in the 5 Keys program. We go into this a bit deeper around the key of care, which I think is like really foundational. Is, of course, there's interpersonal care, but how do we actually care for ourselves? How do we create an experience of feeling cared for on our own if there's nobody else around? Because so often that's the case. Or maybe the people that are around, we don't have that sense of care from. So one practice that I really like for this is just a simple self-touch practice. And I don't see any more questions in the chat right at this moment. So maybe let's just do that together, because why not? So briefly finding the breath again, and you're welcome to close your eyes if you like. And I like to start by just bringing a hand to my heart. And maybe you want to bring a second hand there or nearby. And notice that sensation. Feel the temperature. Feel the weight of your hand. Feel the movement of your body under your hand as you breathe. And then bringing the hands further apart and wrapping them around the shoulders. Each of these is an invitation, and I would particularly like you to prioritize the invitation of your own body. So if I am suggesting putting your hands on your shoulders and you want to stay with the heart, please do that. Just feeling the hands on the shoulders and maybe even going a bit further and wrapping all the way around your body. And you can play a little bit with the positioning, maybe one hand on top, one hand further down. And as you move your hands, listening to what your body is telling you. When does your body say, yes, that's the spot right there? And maybe it tells you that with a sigh, or maybe it tells you with just a knowing, an inner knowing. Maybe there's a tingling or some other sensation. So just finding that spot, wherever it is for you. And then we're going to play with the pressure. So give yourself a really tight squeeze. And then gently easing off little bit by little bit. Slowly, slowly. Until you can just barely feel like a feather's touch. And then adding some more pressure back in until your body tells you, yes, that's the right amount for me right now. And again, noticing, how do I know? How do I know that's the right amount? I just got a yawn. That's one of the ways that I know. I got Got some stomach gurgles. That's another way that I know. For you, it may be something different. So just finding that right pressure, finding that right position. It's right for you right now. And then we're going to feel into the beingness of the arms. So the arms and the hands wrapping around, putting your awareness in the arms and the hands, holding yourself. You're holding this person that is you. And how do you want to hold someone that you really, really love and care for? How do you convey that with your arms? You might imagine holding a partner or a child or a pet, just holding a loved one. And giving yourself that quality. Maybe it's a change in pressure, change in position, maybe there's movement you want to stroke or rub. It's conveying this sense of care. Then we're going to shift our focus a little bit into the body, into the torso, feeling the arms wrapped around you. How does it feel to be held? Noticing the sensation. How does it feel to be held with just this right pressure, just this right way, by someone who loves you, someone who cares for you, by yourself? And if the arms need to move at any point, just follow that intuition, follow that inner guidance. And if you notice other sensations or emotions or thoughts, just allow them. Just allow them to float on through. And continuing to notice how does it feel to be held in this loving way? And then see if you can bring awareness to both at the same time. So you're being held and you're holding yourself at the same time. You're bringing this experience of care, this physical action of care, into your own space, into your own experience. Noticing how that feels. I notice my breath getting a little bit deeper. Just a feeling of relaxing, dropping down. Just see what you notice. Allowing yourself to breathe into this care. You may have an experience of caring for others. So just imagining that you could turn that energy, that directional energy, from pointing outwards to pointing inwards. Just turning it back on yourself. Letting yourself be the recipient of your own care. breathing it in, breathing it out. Letting the arms drop when they feel ready to do so if they haven't before. Letting the breath fill the body. Maybe you need to bring in a little bit more movement. Maybe there's a little stretch, rolling the shoulders. And when you feel ready, you can gently open the eyes again. Hope you guys enjoyed that practice. That is kind of similar to one that I teach in the 5 keys, but also different. Yeah, Marin had a good suggestion there of also you can co-regulate to a recording of a teacher or a guided meditation like we just did. So in a group setting like this, we also have the chance to co-regulate with each other, or if you're in coaching or therapy or similar, then hopefully that practitioner is holding that energy of a regulated nervous system and allowing you to co-regulate to that. That can be really powerful as well. And I love doing these practices in groups. That's why I mostly focus on group coaching, because we get that benefit of getting like that energy field going of regulating, and it just makes it that much more powerful than if you were just doing it in your own space on your own instead of on a call like this. So yeah, thanks for that as well. Awesome. Okay, and then I have a question here from Marin. Do you think particular symptoms are connected to particular emotions or situations or triggers, or are they more personal to individuals' memories and experiences? Yeah, I have seen people talk about like, oh, well, if you have back pain, it means anger issues, or I just made that up. I don't know if that's true that people say that, but just as an example, I think that certain patterns show up fairly predictably in certain ways. And one thing I've noticed is that 90% or more of the people that I know that I've worked with who have some sort of chronic fatigue issue, or I don't work with as many people with fibromyalgia, but I've seen it there too, generally are like really go-getter, achiever type people. And then they're like, bam, I hit a wall. I can't do anything now. My life is over. I can barely get out of bed. And who am I? What is the meaning of this? Pretty much everyone that I've worked with is some kind of like overachiever, perfectionist type person. And you can't ignore that when you see that pattern repeated like in 90% or more of the people that you work with or talk to. So I don't necessarily think it's like a specific emotion that creates a specific symptom, but I think that whatever pattern that we're living into has certain results and consequences. So that pattern, I look at everything from a nervous system perspective. So that pattern is a very activated sympathetic nervous system pattern. And you can only run on sympathetic for so long before your body will kick you over into that dorsal shutdown fatigue state. We just run out of juice, right? Just run out of batteries, and then bam, you're done. And that happens in smaller ways when people experience burnout, but it can also happen in this really big dramatic way when we have other stressors on the system, whether it's trauma or mold or whatever, and then there's a virus or there's some other kind of trigger that's just like way beyond what our system can handle. But it is interesting that like kind of pattern or way of being is so correlated with chronic fatigue, and then people typically when they recover have rewired that. They've changed something within themselves to no longer have that intense achiever perfectionist drive. That's not to say that they don't achieve things or have goals and desires and work towards them, but I definitely experienced this myself. I have a completely different way of approaching the world and approaching my goals than I did previously. I also, especially through my experience with Reiki, have noticed the ways that certain emotions and emotional patterns or trauma patterns can get stuck in the body, as energy or as, a residual somatic experience that it's just like a stuck place. And that's more personal, that's more individual. Like for me, I have like a whole somatic thing over in this neck shoulder from a car accident that I had. But it can also be less direct than that, where it could be, a very intangible experience that is showing up in the gut or the legs or, whatever it is. But that's something I usually unravel with the individual, because it's not something that I've noticed a particular pattern that it's always this if it shows up here. But there are whole books on that subject, so feel free to dive into it, but it's not something that I found particularly helpful to diagnose a physical thing as a one-to-one correlation with an emotion. It's interesting though to notice that for yourself. So when I experience a particular trigger or a particular emotion, where is that in my body? How does it show up in my body? Or maybe like what symptoms tend to show up afterwards? Because that can be a really good place to try to do some intervention and do some rewiring. Yeah, great question. Yeah, question about, I've been doing nervous system regulation since January, but my situation and how I feel haven't changed. So what do you think I should dig into deeper or try now? Yeah, that's a great question. And this happens a lot. This happened to me as well. I did a brain retraining program and I was like, okay, I got a lot out of this program, but nothing really changed on, in terms of symptoms and so on. And what often happens is sometimes there's a need for more knowledge. Like for me, understanding polyvagal theory, understanding what was driving the nervous system and like what I was actually going for was really helpful. So that was a missing piece for me at the time. Another thing is we can approach nervous system work and we can approach these types of tools in a variety of different ways. We can approach them as there's something wrong and I need to fix it, and this is how I'm going to fix it. And it's like, taking a pill from the doctor or something like that. And we're trying to use the nervous system tool as as that like pill or band-aid or something on the symptoms to make them go away, because we want the symptoms to go away, because it doesn't feel like we can be okay if we have these symptoms. That might sound very obvious, like, well, yeah, I'm doing these practices so I don't have these symptoms that I don't want to have, you think? But the more that there's that underlying, I'm not okay and I can't be okay if I have these symptoms, then that's driving a threat response, right? Like if I'm not safe with these symptoms, then how am I going to feel safe if I'm just like throwing everything at these symptoms to make them go away? And the whole point of nervous system regulation is to create safety so that the nervous system and the cells get that message of safety and are able to shift into a parasympathetic state more of the time, which creates health in the body. I think probably you all know that if you've been hanging around these spaces for a while. So those are two things, and then the third thing is what are you actually doing with your day? Are you doing things that are creating a lot of stress, that are creating activation? Are you constantly going over your nervous system capacity in some way? That could be, it could be very subtle. It could not be very obvious. It could be, something that you're so used to that you don't really realize that it's putting that much stress on the nervous system when it actually is. This can also happen when maybe you have kids to take care of, or you have a job to go to, or something like that, where it's harder to pace, because you do have to pace. At a certain point, you have to be living within the energy that you have before you can expand that energy, right? You have to create safety with what's here now before you can create safety with other things that are more intense or more stressful. So I think you have the education. You went through my 5 keys class, so I go pretty deep into polyvagal theory there. You have great tools from that class. I would look at, what is my inner belief and attitude? Do I believe that I can be okay if I have these symptoms, these limitations right now and into the future? If not, what's behind that? How can I work through that? And then looking at, how do I spend my day? Am I doing things in my day that bring me a sense of peace, that bring me a sense of calm, that bring me a sense of joy or delight or play? Or am I doing things that feel like I have to push through to get them done, or that are activating? I know we've talked before about like video games. That's something I would look at. If your video games or movies or books that are intense or activating, I would try switching that up. Switch to something that is calming, maybe funny. Laughter is really great for the nervous system as well. So yeah, if you're doing the practices and you have the knowledge, then it's, what's the deeper meaning and what am I doing out in the world? Last piece I'll bring in is, there could be another stressor on your nervous system that you're not aware of, in the form of maybe environmental issues, or it could also, be like old trauma issues. Those are kind of related to what I just said, but I just wanted to name that specifically as well. Good question. Oh, and then in that same category, sometimes there are, other physical conditions, physical issues, like if there's a thyroid issue, if you're iron deficient, if you're, deficient in other vitamins, it's going to be hard to get a foothold because your body is constantly operating with that like depletion or stressor. So just making sure that you're seeing a doctor who's thoroughly checking all of those things, and just checking that off and making sure that that's not a factor is always a good idea. Yeah. All right, we just have a few minutes left. Are there any other questions that want to come through? I'll kind of leave some space for that to come through in the chat, but I also just want to name ways that you can continue to work with me. I'm going to do another free call like this. It's going to be on Monday, the 28th, I believe, at 9 a.m. So for folks in Europe, this will be a better time for you. Sorry, Australia folks, it won't work out so great for you guys. But I'm gonna do a few of these. I might do some on Facebook or Instagram Live, we'll see. And then I have a class actually starting this Friday. So if you're like, yeah, let's do more, it's gonna be on building capacity. So if you're in that place where you feel like you've created some safety with where you're at right now, but you're like, I know there's more. I wanna do more. I wanna go beyond this. That's what we're gonna be focusing on, is the ability to handle more stuff, you know, stressful stuff, good stuff, stuff you're excited about, just more life, bigger life things. That's a capacity compass. Let me grab some links and I'll just drop them in the chat here for you guys. And I'll send these out afterwards. So if you miss it, you know, that's all good. Okay, I can't find the link for that, but I do have the link for one-on-one coaching. You can get in touch with me there. And I'm going to be doing a webinar about the 5 keys program. So I'm going to be talking about the 5 keys, and that'll be free. So definitely sign up for that. I've mentioned a couple of the keys, I think, in this call, like the key of care. So if that sparked anything for you, then please sign up for that webinar, and I'll be sharing more about the keys and some different tools. And yeah, the next call will be at 9 a.m. on January 28th, but you'll get an email about it, because if you registered for this webinar, then you'll get an email, or not, it's not a webinar. If you registered for this call, then you'll get an email about the next call. But for the 5 keys webinar, you want to register for that specifically. And let me just pull up that capacity compass class, because we are starting this Friday, so it is a short window of time if you want to get in on that. Okay, I think I saw one more question. Is it okay to do the nervous system work while addressing the physical issues such as iron deficiency? I love this question, Sophia. I actually did a whole video on this, and I just haven't posted it yet because I'm very behind on things. I was backpacking for 2 weeks. Yes, the short answer is yes. And in the video, I talk about how I actually look at those physical interventions from a nervous system perspective, so that it all kind of blends together and is supporting you. And the key to that is just safety. Is this helping me create more safety? And for myself, I did both. I did both at the same time, right alongside each other. And that was the most powerful thing. Some people are different and they prefer to just focus on one or the other, but I think they can blend together really nicely. And then you're just supporting yourself in a very well-rounded way. Yeah, okay. Well, I think that's pretty much our time, you guys. I really enjoyed getting to chat with you, connect with you. I hope that you found it valuable as well. And yeah, I'll send out emails. If you're watching this on the recording and you're not on the email list, I will put a link to that below so that you can find out when the next live call is going to be. I'm going to try to do a few of these. And then yeah, I'll have that webinar in a month or so too. And you can always find me on my website, cedarsacredwell.com, or cedar@cedarsacredwell.com for email. Thanks everybody. See you later.